Alright, so we had some unexpected breaking news hit today in regards to Square Enix and Microsoft of all companies, which sucks because I just released my Final Fantasy XVI review today, which means one of these videos is going to get buried by the algorithm, but hey, what can you do? Breaking news happens. Before we get into the news, if you guys could click the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon with a chair, that would be much appreciated. So towards the end of the Final Fantasy XIV FanFest event, Yoshi P brought out a special guest in the form of Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, which is already like, whoa. What's going on here? They announced that Final Fantasy XIV will be coming to Xbox Series S and X consoles next year, which is great. More players is always welcome. Then they brought out the new president of Square Enix, Takashi Kiryu, which made things even crazier. They announced that they were excited to be partnering with Microsoft to bring their games to Xbox consoles in the future, which is massive. What exactly does this all mean for Final Fantasy, Square, and exclusives? Well, the first thing is that it absolutely squashes any rumors of Sony or Microsoft potentially buying Square Enix, which is a good thing. We did hear recently through the Microsoft and Activision court deals that at one point in time, Microsoft wanted to buy Square, but it never went through. And of course, rumors of Sony buying Square have run rampant for over a year now. So for the time being, it looks like Square very much wants to remain third party, especially since they're actually starting to do a lot better. Years ago when Square was kind of in the dumps, they had to take what offers came their way to make ends meet, which is probably how we ended up with exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy and Final Fantasy XVI, both games that were partially funded by Sony. Capcom was in a very similar situation many years ago until they released Monster Hunter World, which was a huge success for the company and turned things around for them. Now they're absolutely flourishing. It's being called the Capcom Renaissance because pretty much everything they put out, minus Exoprimal, is doing really well and finding a ton of success and making a lot of money. So what effects will this have on Square going forward? Well, what could happen now, and I wouldn't want this to happen, is that Microsoft ends up getting exclusive games on Xbox and PC over Sony. Kind of how things are now with Final Fantasy's mainline titles being exclusive to PlayStation platforms. So hopefully that's not the case, but I would not be shocked if Microsoft lands an exclusive title from Square in the future. But the hope is that Square's games going forward become multi-platform, including day one releases on PC. The more people that get to play these games, the better. It also means more money for Square to greenlight more projects and put more money into franchises like Final Fantasy. There's also a possibility that Sony and Microsoft continue to fight for exclusives from Square Enix, so we very well could have a future where the next Final Fantasy game is exclusive to Xbox, and then Sony gets the next Final Fantasy exclusive to PlayStation. It doesn't even have to be Final Fantasy. I think for the time being in the foreseeable future, both Microsoft and Sony are really going to try and fight for exclusives, but again, the hope is that we get games multi-platform. So what about current exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Remake's Trilogy and Final Fantasy XVI? Those games are currently exclusive to PlayStation platforms with PC versions releasing later down the line. But now, there's a real possibility that those games could get ported to Xbox consoles in the future. This news is absolutely massive. This is industry-changing stuff, people. At the end of the day, the more people that get to experience these games, the better. And the less third-party exclusives means more success for companies like Square Enix, which, as a fan of the company and their games, I want to see that happen. And I want more people to experience games like Final Fantasy XVI, or the VII Remake Trilogy, or future games going forward like Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest. These are games that are universally loved, and they have mass appeal, and taking them and locking them to one specific platform, while it could help with development and you're only focusing on developing for one platform, financially and in terms of mass appeal, it really does hold the games back in the long run. So with that being said, that is the video. I am Curious Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of this news of Square Enix and Microsoft working together to form a partnership to bring Square's games to the Xbox consoles within the near future? future. Is this something you're looking forward to? Are you kind of worried about it? Are you excited? Let me know. And before you guys go, please make sure to check out my Final Fantasy 16 review. Again, I released it today. Horrible day to release it with this news breaking, but I worked really hard on it. It's a bit longer than usual, but it kind of goes in depth with my feelings on the game in terms of combat and story and characters, my pros and my cons, what have you. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.